Hello again. I got all the work done that I wanted to get done to the Z06. So I'll give a little history on it. So it's an '07. I got it about 4 years ago. Started off with the LS7, obviously. And then as soon as I bought it, which I didn't know at the time, someone goes, "Did you get the heads fixed?" You know, everybody says that. So I get a set of heads for it, like some Brodix heads, a cam. Someone talked me into doing a cam. I was just going to put heads on it because I was going to leave it stock. Anyway, I ended up snowballing a little bit and I ended up going with a cam, and then it was a 230 intake, 247 exhaust on a 115. Car ran real good. Um, Also had MSD, yeah, the MSD intake, and they had 410 gears in it. And a 102 millimeter throttle body. The car put down the first time 560, but they cut it off at about 6,000 because uh, didn't want to take it all the way up to 7. But the main thing was to tune it. So I ran that for a couple years, and the car was fine that way. And then maybe 1 year. At the end of the season, I was watching a race that we had at their local track, and I had some smoke puffing out the exhaust when I took off, but then it would clear up. Everybody said, "Oh, it might be your rings." I knew it wasn't the rings because it actually puffed a little smoke every time I started it up. So I figured it's the valve seals. So I send the heads. That at the end of the season, I take the heads off. Someone talks me into putting a bigger cam in. I think that one was a 242, 256 on a 112. And the heads were totally redone. And the aftermarket heads, the valves were out of spec already as far as the wobble in the guides. So I have them completely redone and ported this time and sent back to me. I put it back together. I take it somewhere to get it tuned out. I think they tuned it too much, with too much timing. Actually, I know they did. Anyway, in the first run out in the street, I crack a sleeve on it. So I was like, you know what? On the dyno, it did put down 610 and like 525 torque. Uh, so then I didn't know what to do. So then I decided, what am I going to do with this car? Because if I get a new LS7, we're talking about I think they were going for 8 or 9 thousand for a crate for like the complete setup. I think they are that now. I think it was 8 to 10, somewhere in there. But then I'm back to the same situation with the head problems, and then if I want to do stuff that I didn't know if I wanted to mess with, and I looked into the iron LSX blocks, and then I just didn't know if I wanted to stay with the big cam and everything like that. And I decided, somebody mentioned, "Hey, I got an LS3 with 3,000 miles on it." So I decided, well, okay, I went and got that. And then I decided I was going to supercharge it. So I ended up putting a Magnuson Heartbeat, so it's a 2300 Eaton rotors pack, intercooled, or yeah. Anyway, I put an LS9 cam, and this time I decided I wanted to go more stock running feel, stock sound kind of thing, somewhat. So I put just LS9 cam in, the blower, the headers that were on the LS7 fit the LS3, so they're Billy Boat headers, and the stock throttle body, stock ZR1 mufflers, stock Z06 H pipe. And at the time I had 410 gears in it when it was on the dyno. On the 355 30 19, the Viper tires, the Kumos. Uh, that's all it's done to it. And the car put down, oh, what, I'm sorry, stock crank pulley and an 84 millimeter top pulley on the blower. The car put down 610 and 520 torque, but the torque curve hits like at, I don't know, I would say was at about 2,500. It's at about 500 foot-pounds from there all the way. I mean, it drops down a little bit at the upper RPM, but you have all the torque right now. So with the car having 410 gear, uh, it's typically less on the dyno than it would have been, like say, with the 342. Anyway, with the car with that gear, it was just too much. So I ended up selling that and buying a 342 stock diff, and then I actually bought a ZR1 transmission, and that was what my other videos were about, swapping the 6th gear. Had I known about the 6th gear, I might have left a 410 in it, but with the ZR1 transmission, because of the first gear is a 229 first gear, so the first gear takes car like 70 miles an hour, which I like the long gears. It's like 70, almost 100, 130, and then 4th gear I think is around 165 or 70. You know, that's plenty, and the car has power all the time. So it might not be the fastest, but like I was saying in another video, that's not very often I come across something that's like, it doesn't matter. You're on the street, a car beats you on the highway or something. If you know, playing around, who cares? So since then, though, I did put an 81 millimeter pulley on it, and then I remote tuned it, and so I'm assuming it's probably got around 630 at this point. And now I just changed the bottom pulley to a 8.23 diameter from a 7.5, so it's a 9% increase. And that's on the Corvette version. That's as big as I can go on the bottom. I'm expecting to pick 2 or 3 pounds up, and I figure a little bit of loss with the bigger pulley as far as driving accessories, but I just take that off of the amount I think I would gain, about 20 horsepower per pound. So if I gain 3, take like 10 off, you know, like 50 horsepower, something like that. I did also put 1.8 Comp Ultra roller rockers on it for pedestal mount, so they go on just like the stock ones. So I got a little, so the ZR1 lift, now cam lift, would be close to 600. So that's where this car is staying, unless I do some E85 or something, but then that's a whole nother thing. Fuel pump and bigger injectors. Not sure that I want to do that. I might just do MS 109 just for the track days or something like that, with a different tune maybe. I don't know. We're gonna see how it goes. I gotta take the car on the street for data logging for my tuner to adjust a little bit for this pulley change. I'm thinking I'll be okay. I would think I'm gonna be around with this pulley about, I was before at 10, so I'm thinking I'm gonna be at 12 or 13. I don't think it's gonna go higher than that. So we'll see how that does. But yeah. So as far as my review on the blower, I love it. The car runs super smooth, from idle on all the way up, and it's like driving a stock car, except for when you get in it, and when the boost comes on, it's like another car. So it's like 2 in 1. I don't have to worry about sitting at a light and the car is all, you know, shaking. And so it's not like I don't like that. It's just that I always felt like the car's beating itself up when it idles like that with the big cams and stuff. So I decided to go a different way with it, and I I don't miss the LS7 whatsoever. Uh, as far as fit and finish on it, I loved it. This was probably, although I had a Vortec for a Mustang LX, it's pretty good too. But this came with everything you need to put this on the car, and I mean, and make it look like it's factory. I mean, the comes with an LS9 fuel rail, and then the stock ZR1 intake fits this, so I got that for like $30. So, and I had this hood before, this it's L88. This thing fits super good too. I got this for a super good deal. I just had to have it painted. But it came with an intercooler, or the heat exchanger, I should say, mounts in front of the radiator, and it fits perfectly in there without modifying anything but drilling like a 1-inch hole in the plastic to get the cooling lines that come up here. This happened on the dyno. This was one piece while we were dynoing it. When he was in the throttle, the tensioner stretched the belt, and that pulley actually went and touched and cut the line. So I have them zip tied back a little bit farther now that they clear, and I had to put that splice there. I intend to fix that hose, but for now it's fine. I mean, it's not like it's got high pressure. That just has its own reservoir right here it's got its own coolant, and the reservoir goes to a pump that's down in this front under the headlight, and it just keeps recirculating it. So I am thinking about putting an inner chiller on the car or a water tank. The water tank's obviously cheaper, but then you got to mess with the water. I don't know which way I would go with it yet. The inner chiller thing's kind of cool, but I just want to make sure it'd be reliable as far as working when you want it to work. But there wasn't much modification. Now, obviously, this thing is like right perfect height. I mean, as far as there's like a millimeter of clearance under there. I have Hinson motor mount, so this thing doesn't move. The back bolts, you take this rubber piece off, you can get to them. But this kit was like super complete. Wasn't missing nothing. So, and I needed to go, when you get stuff, you got to go and look for like some miscellaneous things to get something put on. This thing needed nothing. It was like complete. There wasn't nothing left over. The instructions were better than, you get aftermarket stuff, and the instructions ain't so good, but it was very easy to follow. I had the engine out of the car when I put this on. The blower has to go on after, but what I mean is I had the engine out of the car before I put it on. I did this all at once. And so I was able to pin the crank super easy because I did that on the stand. And I did the one that drilled through the side, so the pin sticks out like a normal key would on a small block Chevy. I have the kit and I could do it where you drill half the crank and half the pulley and put the pin in there. But I always thought, I don't know how easy is that to line back up later, because once you do that, you have to put that pulley on exactly the same every time. And if you get it driven on so far and it's a little bit off, it's not going to fit. So I just thought the pin that way, because when you pin it coming out the side of the crank, you can easily feel it when you put the pulley on that you're in that groove before you start pushing it. So that's just what I would do. I know I always get crap for these things on the side here. You might see it in any other videos. I know that's mimicking a ZR1 badge, but I don't care. The car is a Z06 and the ZR1 have the same chassis. The car is pretty much set up like a ZR1. It's not a ZR1. and I'm not calling it a ZR1, but it's a supercharged LS3. It's kind of like a ZR1 to me, and that's what I'm doing. I don't care what anyone says. So, you know, if that's all you got to rip on my car, okay. Because some of the purists on some of the Facebook and stuff talk shit about it once in a while, but I don't care. And actually, the more shit I hear, the more it's staying on. So I don't think it's that bad. I did the same thing on the back, like where that one goes. Again, inside, I do like on the C6R, that was on the car when I bought it. I don't feel like taking it off. You got that's a shift light there. I don't know if you can find those anymore. These here, the plastic, but it was available. So that shift light works real good, and it also has a digital tach readout. And then here, this used to be for nitrous. I didn't use it much, but yeah, the LS7 had nitrous on it, but I never like really used it. Not in a race anyway. This is for the two-step. I set it at about 4,500 or so. It works pretty good. I run two DR2 Hoosiers, and they stick really good. So I have like 3 sets of wheels. So I got these ZR1 wheels on it that I use for street driving. It is lifted up in the air a little, so that's not how it sits. I use that for everyday driving, normal. If I'm gonna run up, I go up north once in a while, you know, like 120, 200 mile round trip. That's just my running tires. Then I also have another set, my Z06 wheels. Those have 355 3019 Kumos on it. Those stick really good for street tires, and I'll just run those once in a while if I feel like it, because those are street tires too, I guess, but a little softer compound. And if I run a hard tire event, I like to run those, so I don't really want to wear them out. So that's kind of what the ZR1 wheels are for. Plus the car handles like really good with the 20s on the back and the 19s up front. So, and then I have weld 7-inch front wheels and 17 by, well, they're 18 by 7s for the front, and I run 225 45 18s up front and 335 35 17s on the back. So I have a wide range of tires for it. And that's pretty much it about with this car. I do have a draggy, so that helps a lot with trying to figure things out as far as if things are helping or not. And of course, the last time I was at the track, I did not have the draggy with me, which pissed me off because I know the car did a 10 something, and I can't prove it. So because the event I was running was no clocks. The car did good that night, but that's how it goes. But yeah, but that's the story on this car. I don't ever intend on putting the LS7 back in it. I don't really intend on selling the car, at least not now, not at this point. I think it's a perfect mix of, well, the motor's a GS motor, the transmission's a ZR1, and the chassis is Z06, but pretty much the Z06 and the ZR1 ride on the same frame and magnesium front end and all that. So I see no difference to me. I mean, my blower is more efficient than the ZR1 blower too. So I mean, with 8 pounds of boost, the car put down over 600 so to the tire, and the ZR1 is like 550, I think. I think they're running 10 psi. So that more than likely has everything to do with the compression ratio from the engine from the get-go. But either way, I know I talked to a couple guys, and the cooling system on this thing is another thing. The cooling system on the blower, like I see a max of about 130 to 140 degrees on a quarter-mile run, and then once I stop, I'd say 30 seconds, 45 seconds later, it's back to ambient temperature. I mean, on a summer day, on a hot summer day, the cooler for the blower runs roughly 10 degrees hotter than the ambient temperature outside. And on a cool day, I would say it's within 3 degrees. I say that's pretty good. So people talk about heat soak. I don't see it in this. I mean, I ran they call it Streetlight Wars last year. I would say it's 95 to 97 degrees out. The way the rules went, you had to keep going. You couldn't stop. So you would run a race, come back on the return, you back in line, idling, waiting for the next one. My car ran for 45 minutes nonstop, and I did like about 5 races too. So the blower never got too hot. It never saw over, say, 140 was the highest I saw it, and that didn't even take that long to come back down. But on the return road, it was already back down to 110. So I say that's pretty good. So, like I said, heat soak, yeah, on a track where you're not running just quarter mile, I'm sure it probably will do that. But to tell you the truth, as long as the car is moving, the blower don't get that hot. So that's my thought on it. I don't, like I said, the way the car drives, I mean, and with these ZR1 mufflers when they're closed, man, it's like you can't even hear it running hardly. And it's whisper quiet. Then you flip them valves open and the thing screams. So I couldn't ask for anything better, and the AC works. I mean, it's like I got to turn it down or turn it off sometimes. So nobody could tell me anything bad about this car, and no one's going to tell me anything about my LS3 badges. So anyway, that's it on this car. I will be getting on to some explanations and stuff on the 90LX I got. So I'll be doing that within a few days because I can finally get this car out of here and get the other one in here. There's a few minor things I got to do, and then I'll go over some stuff with that. And then I got the Power Wagon too. So until next time, thanks. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I've been front to back, top to bottom of this car, and now the Mustang. I was like a quick learning I had to do with the. I never owned one before, so I got one last June, and I did like everything that someone would do to it over the course of a couple of years in a few months. So it was a big learning. I can't say a learning curve because after working on a Z06, that thing is like old school and super easy. I mean, I can get the transmission out in like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you know. Yeah, so that and the Power Wagon. I don't do a lot of stuff to that one, but I did a lot of little things to it that people might be interested in. So any questions about that, I've got a pretty good understanding of the truck too. So until then, see ya.